Al, thank you very much for doing this. How you doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Getting ready here for the last game of spring training. Going to be an exciting 7-inning game.
Hope it's a fast one.
Yeah, well, that's why it's 7 innings.
Hey, how different does this one feel going into this season? You know, with everything that you've put in place here, from the coaching staff to the more veteran look to the team.
Yeah, from day one, we've emphasized winning, and we're going to walk away here with a winning record, albeit, with 4 ties and some 5-inning and 7-inning games and some rollover innings. And but the emphasis about winning started from day one, which is important. And so working with AJ Hinch and this new coaching staff has been very exciting for me. And I'm so happy right now going into the season with that. And we like the team in that there's some young guys on the team. Like you guys know, when I was interviewing AJ and we hired him, and he emphasized it along the way that to be successful down the road, one of the most important things for us is to get the pitching right. So the addition of Casey Mines and Tarek Skubal on the roster is important for, so if, I'm going to answer the question before you guys ask it. So what's going to be an important thing to accomplish this season is to get our young pitching established, making progress moving forward. And that also includes Brian Garcia, quite frankly. He made the club, but, we want to also see him continuing to improve. We want to see, Matt Manning make his debut at the major league level here at some point this year. We want to see Joey Wentz bounce back from Tommy John and hopefully a little bit later make his big league appearance, and Alex Lang and possibly even Logan Shore, could do that. So from our young pitchers, and obviously Turnbull won't start the season with us for the obvious reasons, but we'd like to see him continue his quest to be a top of the rotation type starter. So those things, along with the veteran guys that we brought in, and Orena and Tehran and Boyd, that's our leader here, and the rest of the guys, it's a good mix. And so we got to get that pitching right as we move forward to have any kind of success.
Last from me, just how difficult were the last cuts of those conversations with Joe, with Renato, and how much flux will this roster still be in, maybe even through April or longer?
Well, yeah, the conversation with Joe was very, very tough. Obviously, he's he's a non-drafted free agent. Our scouts did a great job. He's been a homegrown product, and it was a tough conversation. We feel Joe is a big league pitcher. However, what we told Joe is, you could have made the club and maybe the 13th pitcher on the staff, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for more than that, and he's capable of it. And quite frankly, that's what we're going to try to get at him. And so, while it was a tough conversation, and obviously he didn't enjoy it, we didn't enjoy it, but we do expect him to fully continue to work hard and come back and be the pitcher that we know he can be. So, and with Nunez, the same thing, in the sense that, here's a guy that's put up a lot of homers in the last couple of years. He's certainly a big league hitter. And so it was more about the flexibility at first base and being able to move guys in and out, and really the entire infield, because, we're also carrying 5 outfielders initially. So we just need a little more flexibility in defense. That doesn't mean that it can't change as we move forward. One thing that we discussed, me and AJ discussed well before collaborating on this opening day roster, is that for all the years that we've all been in baseball, when the roster you start with is definitely not necessarily going to be the roster you end with anyway. So right. There will be adjustments, I'm sure, along the way, and we'll just take it day by day, week by week, month by month.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. We'll go to Evan Petzold from the Detroit Free Press.
Al, thanks for doing this. Just throughout spring training, what's been the biggest thing that surprised you about AJ Hinch and the way that he goes about his business and does his job?
Well, I can't say I'm surprised. I knew AJ before hiring him, and I have always, admired across across the other side of the dugout what he can do. But working with them together now, as opposed to on the other side, it's exciting for me to know that I have that on my side now. And so he is a real good communicator, not only with his players, but with his staff, obviously the front office. There's a lot of communication, and it's effective communication. He knows how to get the most out of the players. He knows how to make the point of what, make his point and get the player to understand, hey, the good, the bad, and the ugly, not just everything is rosy. And so he really puts, he puts his whole heart into it, and as well as the staff. So it's been a pleasure, to tell you the truth, to watch him work. And the organization, he's very organized. The attention to detail is outstanding. But and not to mention his baseball knowledge, and he can communicate, with everybody. So, but the communication is definitely, premium.
For sure. Last one for me. We talked to AJ about this a lot, but just, considering the financial commitment to Miguel Cabrera, I wanted to ask you as well, having him play at first base a little bit this year. What are your thoughts there just with that whole situation? Well,
Quite frankly, we're trying to get the best out of Miguel Cabrera. That's all it is. He's got himself in great shape. He really does do a lot of good rehab maintenance to keep himself on the field. You've seen it this spring. He's bouncing around like he's a little kid again. And so I know he's excited about that. I think it'll do him well from a mental aspect. The main thing here is to be careful with him and not overdo it. And that'll be up to AJ and his staff to make sure that they manage the amount of time that he's on his feet at first base. So that'll be monitored very closely. Our training staff, we have good technology now where, we can tell if a guy is a little bit more fatigued or whatnot. And so, all eyes will be on Miguel Cabrera, how many innings he'll be playing at first base and to make sure that he stays healthy.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. We'll go to Jason Beck from MLB.com.
Morning, Al. Thank you for doing this. I was trying to figure out how many opening days this is for you in Detroit. I figured like 19 or 20, somewhere around.
This is my 20th year.
And how much does this opening day mean for you, especially given everything last year with the pandemic and now being able to welcome fans back?
Well, I tell you, last year was very tough. When we left here in March last year, nobody knew what was going on. You guys interviewed a bunch of guys, and actually it was like a broken record across the league because you'd go down there, talk to the players, talk to the staff. Okay, this is what's going on today, and then tomorrow it'd be a whole different situation, and that went on until spring training 2.0 hit. And even then, we were planning to come back to Lakeland, and we did a 180-degree turn and decided to go back to Detroit within a 40-hour span, which is an amazing thing. I got to give a lot of credit to our people. They did things on the fly that are incredible as far as the organization and how they did everything. To keep everybody safe, to keep everybody active. Our minor league personnel continued to work and stay in contact with all of our players and trying to give them, exercises to do and things to do baseball wise that they could do within the minimal of, areas that they had. Our scouts did the same thing. Our amateur scouts or pro scouts continued to work remotely. studying video, learning new technology and new terminology. And so it was a very difficult thing. And then when we started playing with no fans, that was the weirdest thing. I think you guys could admit to that. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was like watching Gulf Coast League games in the backfields. The difference is we had fake noise. And so it was very difficult. So just the thought of getting back to spring training to somewhat normalcy, it was like very exciting to look forward to it. And now leading into the season with, even though it's going to be limited, 20%, it's going to be very exciting to get back to this and to some degree of normalcy. And, and I know for a fact we're going to be, our fans are going to be safe. They're going to enjoy it. Our players are going to be safe and they're going to enjoy it. And we're all looking forward to and hopeful that we can get back to full capacity at some point down the road.
And on a somewhat related note, AJ had mentioned you guys are working on vaccination plans here sometime in the near future. How is that coming along and how optimistic are you guys will get to a point where some of the protocols can get eased, if not?
I'm hopeful that we can get everybody vaccinated, in this homestand and get it done with. But that's the goal, is to get it done in this homestand. I don't know if we can do it, but we're doing everything possible and working with our medical staff and doing it as quickly and as safely as possible. We do have obviously this is a situation where it's a volunteer situation. Not the players don't have to do it, but most of the players, I believe, will, as most staff will, if not all, and in the front office. So some guys have already been vaccinated. Obviously, some guys have already had the virus, so they're good to go. The expectation here is to have the majority vaccinated, and before we go on this road trip, the next road trip, and then get back to as much as you can, for normalcy per se. So that's what we're working on at this point.
And lastly, for me, just, with Torkelson and Green, I know you had talked going into spring training about where they could open up their seasons. Any further clarity on that? Have you guys made a decision on, Torkelson at West Michigan, Green in Erie?
I think that we're still going to stick with that plan for now. Obviously, minor league camp will start as soon as we leave here. We're leaving today, hopefully, and then they'll be coming in. So towards the end of the end of the minor league camp, we'll make some final decisions. But right now, I would say that's where we're leading to. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Al.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jason. We'll go next to Howard Megdal from Baseball Prospectus.
Appreciate it, Al. Thanks for taking the time. Just one for me. You mentioned the idea of getting Tarek and Casey established as a goal in 2021. I'm just wondering, what does that look like to you? Is that 30 starts? Is that something short of that? Just curious what that looks like if we're talking on the last day of the 2021 season.
Well, it doesn't really. I'm not talking about how many starts. That's going to be managed by our coaching staff, monitored also by our medical staff, as far as that's concerned. I'm not talking about how many starts. Hopefully they can make all the starts that we'll give them. Now my thing is, what I'm talking about is being able to pitch at the big league level effectively and efficiently. So in other words, the performance would improve and start to kind of establish some level of good performance on a consistent basis.
Appreciate it, Al. Thanks.
Thanks, Howard. We'll go to Cody Stavenhagen from The Athletic.
Hey, Al, what was it that you and your scouts liked so much about Akil Baddoo, and what was it like to kind of see that pay off at least this spring?
Well, it was a little bit of a gamble, obviously, because not only did he not play above A ball, it's just he hadn't played in 2 years. And really, the A ball thing was not the issue. It was that he hadn't played in 2 years. Because our scouting reports from A ball were actually really good in that some of our guys felt that he might be able to handle it because he was very athletic, very toolsy. He's got the tools, and the athleticism, and like they said, physically, he doesn't look like your typical A-ball guy. That's a little bit skinnier. Needs to grow into his body still. I don't know if you guys recall when we drafted Derek Hill out of high school. Kind of a skinny, frail guy, right? I mean, a lot of tools. He can run, but you could tell he would need a few years to fill out his body, which he has now, thank goodness. But Akil is a little different in that he is, a physically mature guy. So that's one thing. The other thing was they told me that his makeup was really strong in that he was really, really good, an outgoing, personable guy that went about his business like with a lot of self-confidence. So, quite frankly, part of the thing about being at the big leagues is feeling that you belong, having no fear, and things of that nature. So, the overall makeup or the mentality, the outlook of the player, how he goes about his business has a lot to do with that. So it's that combination. And, I think that's what we saw on the field. And we're hopeful that continues to play out throughout the season.
Sure thing. And then you've talked a little bit about Nunez and Cabrera, but you guys also enter the season without a true first baseman on a major league deal. Can you explain the organization's thinking there and just kind of how you arrived at this setup for first base?
Yeah. It's funny because we looked at that early on, and the fact that we didn't have a per se, quote unquote, a first baseman that's all he can do, was somewhat by, I would say, I'm not going to say by design, but I guess somewhat by design, in that we always wanted the flexibility because when we signed Jonathan Scope, obviously we still have, we were keeping Nico Goodrum. We looked at Isaac Paredes. I know that AJ wanted to give Isaac all the opportunity to make the club, and he still feels that he's going to be up here at some point during this season. And you have Candelario and you have Willie Castro. So you have this combination of guys. So if you had a guy that can only play first base, then you're limited on where do you move the other guys to? And we already had signed Scope. So the thought was, okay, you know what? Scope can play first and third, as well as short. We know Candelario's already been over there. Obviously Nico Goodrum can play every position in the infield. So we felt that, we could move around in the infield and give guys more opportunities. We were actually very fortunate that we were able to sign a guy like Renato Nunez to a minor league deal because they let it play out here in spring training. And they could have played out another way, a different way. And now that he decided to stay with us is a huge advantage because we can go into the season and see how this plays out and make adjustments along the way.
All right, sure thing. Thank you all.
Thanks, Cody. We'll go to Nick Austin from Tigers.com.
Just curious if you could comment on what aspect of this team gives you the most hope in regard to success in the year to come. Well,
I don't think there's one per se. I think that one of the things that's really, really important is our pitching. We've said it all along. We have to establish our pitching. We've got to get that right. We've got to get the young guys somewhat established at the major league level where there's consistency in performance. Gradually build up the innings. That is not as important because that's a factor of good performance and health, and then you can just gradually increase the innings. But you have to have good performance and you have to have health. you can't go out there and pick by the second inning, you've got 60 pitches. Well, you can't increase innings when you're throwing that many pitches. So that's what we have to do. And and obviously, we want the guys in the minor leagues like Manning and Joey Wentz and Alex Lang and even Logan Shore that is making tremendous progress now. It's exciting to see him, and then down the road, Faedo when he comes back, we've got to get that right. And so that is very important. So it's just different steps, but you need good pitching to have success. We'll continue to always, find hopefully good veteran guys to add to the mix. And then comes, obviously the position players. And, right now you've got young guys like the Willie Castros and the Candelarios and, that are going to be, vying for longevity here and success. Not too far behind, you got guys like Derek Hill that hopefully, can contribute, if not Baду himself. So those young guys that are at the major league level right now, maybe they don't all make it, but you're hoping for a nucleus of them that will. And then the younger guys that are right behind them, where the, Torkelsons and the Greens and really, quite frankly, I know we just talk about the Torkels and the Greens, but then there's a Dylan Dinglers and the Cody Clemens, and there's more guys coming. And so those young guys will be the next, wave. And that combination coming together as a perfect storm at some point within the near future, and then mixing them in with some veteran guys that can, be the glue per se. See, so it's a process. It's all that together. But I guess if you're going to twist my arm, I would say, the pitching is going to be the key here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We'll take two more for Al. We'll go back to Chris McCoskey.
Yeah, Al, can you update us on Willie Peralta and also Ronnie Garcia in terms of, like, for Ronnie, will he be 60 day DL possibly? And where is Willie? Is he even in country yet?
I don't think Ronnie's going to be a 60-day DL guy. I think he's way closer than that.
Okay.
At this point. So I think you'll see Ronnie pitching in minor league camp and making some progress there. And so no, he's not that far as the 60 days. Okay. He'll be better a lot sooner than that. With Peralta, I'm not really sure that timeline right now. Hopefully with him, by the time he gets going, and he'll be ready to go when we need him. This season, the uncertainty of this season on how it's going to go with the pitching, because of the lack of innings last year. Every pitcher you can have coming up, waiting in line is going to be a plus. So I don't see that right now as a problem. I see that as a possible solution later in the season.
Perfect.
Just don't have a timeline for him right now.
Right, but he's not even in the country, huh?
No, he is.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Al. Or thanks, Chris. And we'll wrap it up with David Lorla from Fangraphs.
Hey, Al. A lot of attention has obviously been paid to your young pitchers as well as to Chris Fetter. Can you address the overall pitching development process over the past year and a half since Dan Hubbs came on board?
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah. Can you just address how much your pitching development process has changed and improved since Dan Hubbs came on board 18 months ago?
Well, to describe the difference or the changes is a little difficult. There's still some basic fundamentals that every pitcher and every pitching instructor goes through. Obviously, there's more use of technology, and that's been coming little by little, even before Dan was here. But obviously, he comes from a school where he was a little bit more advanced in it. So I would say that the changes obviously is more use of the science technology that we've invested in. and making changes to pitchers, mechanics, as they progress. But there's still, the basic fundamentals of pitching are still obviously intact. You just use those tools to help you get to where you need to get to, because now you can measure better, where the deficiencies are. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference, is measuring, the progress or the lack thereof with the technology that we have.
Yeah, you obviously have a scouting background. Can you see a difference watching the young pitchers this spring and over the past summer? With a scout's eye.
Well, that's my background. I don't come from an analytical background or technology. That's why I hired the guys that I hired. They're the experts. I still approve it. I still, obviously have to be involved in all the decision-making process. But one of the things that we do see is obviously when me or one of my scouts are watching a game, the technology will acknowledge what you saw with your eyes, and that's also a big, plus for us. So you don't just have to say, I'll give you a good example. Before the radar gun was invented, right? Guys had to figure out how hard a guy was throwing, and just by chance, by his eyes. Well, now you can acknowledge that the guy's throwing as hard as he is by just watching the radar guns reading. So it's just it's just technology pretty much acknowledging what you're seeing with your eyes, and so the eye test per se. But there's more to it than that. Obviously, players will get better just by knowing, if I grip the baseball in a certain manner, I get this spin rate. If I grip it in this manner, I'll get a different spin rate, which is better, or a bigger break. Or quite frankly, I want the break to come in a little sooner, not to lay up there so long. So the uses of the technology, as far as with the video, with also the numbers that it's showing, it allows the instructor, coach, and the player to visually see himself and the numbers and how they add up. The difference is here, and you got to be very careful, and Dan and AJ are very careful in this. When we're doing our bullpens, obviously a pitcher will throw the ball and then he looks back and he sees the number, and he sees the video, and then, okay, let's make an adjustment, and he'll make another pitch. As we all know that you can't do that in a game. So at some point you got to get away from that, and then you just got to go through your routine of your normal bullpen without that crutch per se to get ready for the game. So, but yeah, the use of technology in video is now just part of the everyday life.
Thanks, David. It's the last question we have. Al, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate everybody joining us, and we'll see you guys during the game today.